TikTok, it's time to rock. It's the double banger weekend where you get two of us twice in a row, and you get the ring in. You get the ring in. The Rock Professor coming in. The wrong one.
Wrong one, yes.
The Rock Professor comes in, and he's going to make everything all right. Good to see you, the Rock Professor. He's up on the top tier. He's on the top tier today.
Welcome from the UK. It's 6:40 and it's blowing a hoolie outside. 50-mile-an-hour gust of wind, plenty of rain. So
hold your toupee on. Hold your toupee on. All right?
Yeah, don't ruffle it too much. It might come off. Yes, you get to my age. You're still pleased to have some. Anything will do.
Yeah.
Any old facts in a storm.
Yeah. Hey, when you get to my age, some of anything's better than none.
Well, for you, gravity's just taken over and it's now growing down, not up.
Just some of anything. Gravity. Whatever it is, I'll just take some of anything. Brad, before we go into the gutter, please resurrect us. Please put us back on track.
Oh, look, it's good to see you guys. And yesterday's show was fantastic. Such a great album we went through, and the you guys in the chat were wonderful. We've gone back and read all your comments and everything. So, look, just we can't thank you guys enough for helping us. You're helping us grow the channel as well, which is so cool. We're up to 850 subscribers, around that mark somewhere, and we couldn't be more proud, and we're extremely grateful for you guys. Very humbly grateful, yes. And
I reckon.
Yeah. We're aiming for 1,000, so if you whatever you guys can do to help us, whether it's share it on your social medias or whatever, please do, and thumbs up, comments, and all the rest of it. You know how it goes, guys.
Okay, it says that Simon needs to be louder, so let me see if I can hold on.
That's never been said before. Simon needs
how about
to be
that?
louder.
How about that?
Better?
Is that better?
Better?
It should be better. Look, it's always a pleasure to see you. It's always no. Stay. I think it's okay because I can hear you better because I adjusted your vocal from here.
Oh,
so
okay.
Stay.
Cool.
Always a pleasure to catch up with the Sunday boys. Obviously, the 5150 show, as Brad has mentioned, was always something that we like to do with Hoss, and we look forward to that. Had some great feedback from people, good views. That helps the channel grow. But the Sunday show is something unique. It's always something that we look forward to because it's something a little bit different. And that's the vibrancy of our channel. I think that we can afford to do something just a little bit different, guys. So hanging out with you guys is always a pleasure. We're streaming, guys, on 2 other platforms, on 2 Facebook groups, the All About the Blues and the 5150 Show Facebook group. So if you're watching over there, we had a couple of people with us yesterday watching from our Facebook group. Say hi, please. Warren is in the chat.
Oh my God. Is he?
How's that for timing?
Yeah. Warren, you're back. What does that even mean? Warren, it's good to see you, man. I hope you're good. I hope you're all right.
Yeah.
It's fantastic
Awesome, brother.
To have you back in the groove.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. It's always we were going to do a shout out, but the fact that you're here, so we're still going to do a shout out. Hope you're getting well, bro. Always a pleasure to see you. And any time you jump into the chat and hang out with the rat bags is always a great thing. When I see those marshals behind Brad, I always think of those the beer dispensers. Fantastic. That was
Brad's beer dispensers.
that had me in fits, and it still does when I think about it. So you don't need to be rude. You don't need to be rude, Simon, do you? That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Be funny. That's a better idea. Apparently, talking of being funny, John ZD341 said we've got Brad and Andrew and a Simon of some sorts.
So, the rock
Some
professor of
sorts
some
of us.
sorts. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
take that. He's our rock
Simon of
professor
some
too.
sort. Yeah. Well, just swap. You can tell it's Sunday because it's not Simon. It's Simon. Yes.
Yeah. Keep your hands off our rock professor, you guys. Keep your hands off him.
Keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel.
Oh, look, guys! It's always a pleasure.
Dear.
Like I said, hanging out with you guys. We're going to do a roll call soon. We're a little bit cheeky, aren't we? We get a bit carried away on some of these intros.
Not in the slightest.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves, but that's the fun of the show. We've got a structure, but it's nice to stretch it out. Acknowledge the people in the chat, have a bit of fun. It's cool.
Loosen up.
Loosen up.
Loosen up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys. So I suppose. What are we talking about? We're doing a record. We're doing a ranking the tracks. That's what we're doing. Hold on.
What day of the week is it? Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this album, a debut album. Brad said something really, really interesting in the green room, and I know a little bit of where Brad's going to come from with this album because we've spoken about this band a lot, and I know that the Rock Professor too has a bit of an appreciation of this band too, being a rock and roll fan, and also the connection that this band had with Jimmy Page. And eventually we'll probably do that collaboration that they did at some stage too.
Yeah,
I think we should. Yeah. It's certainly worth doing. But this debut album came out in 1990. The Rock Professor mentioned something again in the green room. How old is it, Rock Professor?
32 years old. And if you go back from 1990, 32 years, you get to 1958.
Wow.
Pre the Beatles. So in that same period of 30 years, that if you go like that, it's just it's I'm like I like those sort of measurements of time. The difference. I think that there's a real difference between 1990s and now, and 1958 to 1990. Don't you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But Brad, what I like though about that 1990, 92, 93 period. Sorry to interrupt, bro. Is jeepers, there was some good music. There was some good music being dropped then.
Yeah, I think I took it for granted, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if anyone else did or feels that way, but, I was just learning to play guitar around that time, and all these fantastic bands were coming out, and it was mind-blowing time for music. Such a wealth of talent and great songwriters. This is pre-Pro Tools days, but there was no fixing music like they do these days on Pro Tools. It was all done, organically and done. A lot of the performance on this record is done live. It's just it's a testament to the time. But there were, to back up what you were saying, Andrew, there was such amazing talent coming out. And, I think I definitely took it for granted because I was stuck in I love Led Zeppelin, I love Jimi Hendrix, I love the Beatles, and nothing else comes close. But 30 years down the track, I'll tell you what, I bought this album when it first came out, and I'll talk a little bit more about it when we go through the song rankings. But there's one particular song, which I won't spoil it until we get to the rankings, that I was at my friend's house. We just finished playing pool. He had this billiard table, playing pool. We're kicking back that night, having a few quiet ones on the couch, just watching TV. And I was getting ready to call it quits to go to bed, and this song come on. And it was the first song released as a single by the Black Crowes, which we'll talk about soon, and instantly was gobsmacked. I couldn't believe I was hearing what I thought it was a band from the 70s or 60s, or late 60s that I had never heard of, and I was like, what's going on here? So, yeah, fantastic. In my opinion, when we get through the song rankings, I'll back this up with my my analysis of the songs. But it certainly has to be one of the greatest debut albums of the 90s, 100%.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I was getting into the Stones seriously around 89, 90, listening to Exile and Main Street and Let It Bleed. I was, and Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. And when I heard the first single on the radio, I didn't pay much attention to it. But again, a good friend of mine said, look, we've got to check this album out. And I think he had the cassette, and I listened to it, and Simon and Brad, it blew me away because I was hearing the Rolling Stones, and those, certainly in those first 3 or 4 tracks, opening tracks, but not in a negative way. It was, and we were so excited because this was a contemporary band. And what you have to remember is that even in 1990, back then, Rock Professor, the Rolling Stones, and I've said this before, was considered old by some of my contemporaries, old music. So to hear a new band sing something that sounded familiar to me was just made me happy, I suppose. And then we got the videos, Brad, and we've spoken about this before. We can't underestimate the role of videos and what it did. Albeit we didn't have MTV here, but we had, music video programs. And when I saw the Black Crowes and they looked cool, and I've got some pics to throw up, they looked rock and roll cool, didn't they?
Absolutely did, yeah.
Brad.
Completely. Oh, Brad, you're on mute, mate.
Brad.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, guys.
There you are.
I was being polite before and had it on mute, and sorry about that. I was just saying, they were from what I call the golden era. They looked like they were from that 60s, 70s period for me. When you watch the film clip, I was taken back. It was like, that's why this band resonated with me, because I could hear straight away. I could hear the Stones. I could hear the Faces. I could hear Led Zeppelin. I could hear so many bands that I was into at the time, and straight away, I rushed out when this when the single was released. I bought it on CD single, and then I bought the album that was released, and I've been listening to it pretty much for 31 years, Simon, or 32? You 32, said, Simon?
Man, 32
years. This album, from buying it brand new when it was released. So that certainly, no secret to my age now. That's where it's so it seems like yesterday.
You're still the new boy. You're the young boy, so that's okay.
I was learning to play guitar in 1990. Oh, listen to him.
What about you, Simon? Were you aware of this album when it dropped? Was it something that you heard, or?
I know I was aware of it. I mean, I absolutely was aware of it as an album. I was just having a look to see. It came out almost exactly the same time as my friends the Blue Aeroplanes released their album Swagger. A great name for a record, Swagger. So yeah, takes me. You think, I mean, and that gives me some kind of context about how 32 years ago feels, because it's a long time ago. But I was already playing in bands then, and we used to play Hard to Handle off of here, like lots of bands. When it came out, that's one of the things we did, because it's such a great track, and got everybody dancing and stuff, and has a thing about it. But so I was aware of that. It's probably through Hard to Handle more than anything else, when I was playing it and things. But I wasn't. Yeah, so it was around, and I was curious.
No.
Yeah, I suppose one of the great things about this band, and some of the albums that followed after this debut, one of the dynamics in this band is the brothers Chris and Rich. That love-hate relationship that they had, and the conflict that arose from their relationship in the band. Had its good things and its positive things. In fact, the band broke up, didn't they, because of that toxic relationship that they had, and they didn't speak together for a long time. And just before this global thing hit, they reformed, didn't they? About 3 or 4 months, they were going to do this great big world. And I was excited, because I remember crying when they released the statement saying that the band's over. because I still loved them. They were still doing good stuff, you know. Chris was still singing pretty good. He wasn't up there like he was, you know, 30 odd years ago, but he was still doing pretty good. So that relationship is always interesting. I'm looking forward to reading the drummers Steve Gorman's book eventually when the price comes down, because it's really, really expensive. But one thing though, guys, when I was doing a bit of research for the introduction, I don't profess to be an expert on the behind the scenes of this band at all. But one thing that really interested me, Brad and Simon, about this band is that they were singing something a little bit different when they were younger, sort of REM kind of stuff. And then when they got together with the producer and the manager of their first album, I'm not going to pronounce his name. Maybe, yeah. What was interesting about him is that he got them listening to the Stones and the Faces and Aerosmith. He was the one that created that vibe. And some of the songs that they were doing beforehand when they were, what was the name of their band? Something.
Mr. Crow's Garden.
So Rich had to go back and learned Brad to play open G. So he played open G on some of the songs that they played standard. Now, I didn't know that because I had this view that these guys were listening to Stones records when they were 8 years old, 9 years old, and they were Keith Richards clones, and they busted out, and, you know, and here they were. But no, they were manufactured before the album dropped. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, yeah.
Very
well,
much.
it gives you an idea of the role of the producer in shaping bands, and isn't it, in their sound and everything else? Yeah.
I think he did a good job. He realized, and this is the great thing about a manager, and we tend to talk negatively about managers, don't we? Because there's been some rat bags in rock and roll history, but this is one of the great things that this guy did, is he realized, he molded them and put them into a slot where he knew that they could probably sell more records, and it worked.
Yeah.
100%. No, they whatever they did and however they went about it, you know, that would be really cool to see something. I know they've done videos like documentary stuff in the past, but it would be really cool to get like an insight to that period, the transitional where they became the Black Crowes, Shake Your Money Maker sort of vibe. You know, that would be something else. That would be amazing.
Yeah, there's some good documentaries on YouTube, you know, which is pretty good. But, you know, for a band that sold 19 million albums, they've shared the stage with Jimmy Page, Bob Dylan, the Stones, Aerosmith, AC/DC, The Who, Neil Young, who we were talking about before in the green room, and we've decided that we're not going to talk about Neil Young because it's political. The Grateful Dead. So... Yeah, you know, and what's really interesting is that they took this music, you know, that the manager gave them, and they meshed rock and roll, classic rock and roll, what I call rock and roll, with jams, beautiful ballads, Brad, and called something what they termed freak and roll. So I think that's pretty interesting. Freak and roll. One other thing too that you guys would be quite interested in, which blew me away, they were 20 years old. Rich was 20 when they recorded this album. He'd only been playing the guitar for 4 years.
Yeah, amazing.
It's amazing.
Wow.
You know, it just goes to show, it's just that they had something, you know. They had that thing. You know, you can't buy that thing off the shelf that they had either.
They had the thing, but also, and I know Brad's gonna love this. I know, and the rock, you know, I know you guys are gonna love this. They pissed off ZZ Top's sponsors by saying, by saying that they're sucking up to corporate America because their tour was sponsored by Miller's. So Chris gets up there and bags it. But he knew exactly what he was doing. They did that on purpose because yeah, straight away that causes controversy. People are talking about it. The MP generation bagging, corporate America. It was fantastic. Oh, that was there, Simon throwing the TV out the hotel window moment.
Yeah. How hilarious. Yeah. They knew how to ruffle feathers, mate. They knew how to ruffle feathers.
Yeah, it's good. Bro, who's in the chat? Who's doing the shout out?
Yes, I'll do the shout out. Okay. I love the shout out. So if I can go back. So we have Nelson, the mighty Nelson Rodriguez. Good morning, Nelson. Hope you're good. Tim Thomas. I see you, Tim. And we've got John ZD351. Morning, John. It's already being cheeky to me. So I'm watching him closely. We've got Alan Forreside. Good morning, Alan. Hope you had a lovely birthday last week. So it all went well. We've got Teresa, of course. Teresa. Good morning, Teresa. Hope sunny Brazil is okay for you. We've got Gretch Zeppelin. Good morning, Gretch. That's a great name, isn't it? Gretch Zeppelin. Mark Tanner. Of course, Mark Tanner. Good morning, Mark. How you doing? Hope you're good. Catching up on Mark's back catalogue of his cover versions of things. He's really good at it. He's got a real grit to his voice that brings kind of something extra to songs he covers. Check him out. It's really good. Wolfgang 5150. Morning, Wolfgang. Possibly not the real Wolfgang. Well, the real Wolfgang, but
no, we're going to tell people it's the real Wolfgang, Simon. So people, credit to Wolfgang and
no. Warren, of course, Warren. Nice to see you back, Warren.
Yeah.
Scott, Nelson, Mark, Ellen, Teresa, John, Judy. So I think that's probably. Oh, Helen as well. Helen O'Hara. Good morning, Helen. How are you? You're having a lovely holiday somewhere. Posting some lovely pictures. I think that was Helen. Was it Helen Winter? One of the two. Good morning, Helen Winter. How are you? Arvin, of course. Morning, Arvin. Hope we're all good. And I think hopefully that's got everybody. So welcome one, welcome all. Good to see you. Hope we're all staying safe and well.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll get Brad at the end to, if anyone jumps in between now and then, Brad will make sure that he gives you guys a shout out at the end there. So we always appreciate you guys hanging out. So we're going to get into the rankings, guys, of this debut album. After a couple of songs, I'll put some picks up and we'll flick through some picks because we always love looking at picks, don't we, guys? It's always part and parcel of what we do here. And talk about the picks. But there's one secret thing on this album, one secret person, and I'm not going to mention that secret person until the second song. So the secret source, but we'll get to a situation where we can talk about this person. The first track, guys. So I'm going to go first. The Backdoor Man's going to go second, and then we're going to get the Rock Professor to jump in and give his rankings. He's going to round it up. And I'm going to be concise and precise, as I always am, to that point.
Nice. Concise and precise. Oh,
nice, concise and precise.
Precise.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, he's full of it tonight. What have I had? I was just drinking Bundaberg. The problem is
that
Australian ginger beer, but it's the diet one. It's the diet one. It's the one that doesn't have as much sugar in it.
Ah, good. The diet one, yes.
Yeah. So our Australian people will know all about Bundaberg. It's a famous brand over there, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's quite popular. I think the sugar-free ones, mate, have got a fair few chemicals in it, mate. So that's what's probably giving you that little, it's giving you a bit of.
Yes, the trouble is the sugar substitutes. Possibly.
Yeah. Well, we won't go into that tonight.
That's not Yeah. I don't think we're giving dietary advice on here, do you? Brad can.
No, stay away from that.
Yeah, the more the better. That's all I say. It's the simple philosophy for me. Get it all.
Hate
Hey,
it.
anyway, come on.
Get back on track.
Anyway, track one, side one.
Hold on. Twice as hard. Okay, guys. Jeepers, jeepers, jeepers. Open G Glory. As I said to you guys at the start of the show, when I was deep diving into the Rolling Stones and hearing this Open G and talking about it and using guitar magazines to try and work out how it worked, because that information was coming through, and hearing this song just blew me away. Brad, that slide that comes in is fantastic, and that riff before the chorus is just a simple riff. It's just brilliant. It's rock and roll magic. Just goes to show, and a lot of the songs on this album, you don't need to be complicated. Rock and roll's not about complicating things. Solid rock and roll is just about 4, maybe 3 chords, maybe 5 even. But this song is pretty simple in its structure. I love it. It's a manifesto opener. It's like it's like a spectre is haunting rock and roll, and that spectre is the Black Crowes. 10
Look at him go.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, never a skip. It's boy, you're at the dragsters. You're getting ready to go with this song. Brad.
Well, you got to say, what a way to open an album, like your first album. What a moment, you know. That's Twice as Hard, arguably, in my opinion, one of the greatest opening tracks of a debut album ever. It's just that really, really thick, juicy Telecaster tone with that open G stuff. It's just sensational. It immediately draws you in. You're hooked. The drums and the bass are just tight. Chris Robinson's vocals are sensational. The standout to me, that's especially around that era, we're blessed with some phenomenal singers, but Chris Robinson was something unique. I could hear immediately. I'll go into that in the next song, actually. But the harmonies through the song are fantastic, and the choruses are just catchy. Like Andrew said, I always like the idea of, when in songs when bands manage that KISS mentality. If you don't know what KISS mentality is keep it simple, stupid. That's what they did. They kept it simple, a formula that worked for them. They panned the guitars left and right. There was maybe the odd little overdub, but everything was done like they were playing live. And I love that. I'm a bit biased because I absolutely love the Black Crowes. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. And they take me back to that moment I found myself becoming a musician. So that I inherited them as my go-to band to listen to all the time. Their first 3 albums I listened to all the time, like nearly every day.
Wow.
And I have to give this song like 10 out of 10, never a skip. It's I could give it 100 out of 10. It's one of those songs that I think. If you talk about debut opening songs of a debut album, like the only one I think that rates or ranks anywhere near it is Welcome to the Jungle off Appetite for Destruction in '87.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I haven't listened to this album for a long time, so it was great to go back to it. The first thing I'd say is struck me, and I agree with you, Andrew. There's a kind of manifesto here, isn't it? And that manifesto starts with the sound of Rich Robinson's guitar at the beginning of this song. I mean, it's huge. I mean, I was playing it on my stereo in the sitting room where I am. It's like good, and I played it on my car stereo as well. And it's like, good grief, I don't know whether I'd be interested to know, Andrew, if you've got some background on the recording of it.
Only gear.
Gear stuff. I mean, not only what he played, but I mean, because it sounds to me like that this is one of the early albums where I don't know whether they recorded it onto something, Pro Tools or something, an early version of it. I don't know if it was around it or whether it was tape. but they seem to have been able to get that point where you could have everything louder than everything else. You know,
I've definitely not done on Pro Tools, so I'm assuming it's done
on tape, reel to reel tape.
100%, 100% on tape.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be really interesting. Yeah, because that's what I felt about it. Listen, it was that for the first time, you know, that if you normally when you're recording onto tape, you have to make a decision what's going to be louder and what's going to be quieter. Which is why if you listen to lots of, you know, 60s records and stuff, you know, the balance between the guitars and the drums, for instance, you know, you have to balance them off so you get enough out of the drums, you know. But this, you didn't seem to be any concessions to what was louder and what was quieter. You know, maybe they did. I'd be interested to know. But so that sound, that first sound you hear, just hitting his guitar, is just huge. You know, massive sound. You know, that I would say is a manifesto for the record sonically, a tremendous sonic manifesto for it. And the other thing is probably about, as you say, the open G tuning. That is the drums as well. I mean, the drums are immense on this record, aren't they? I mean, absolutely, the sound of them is an immense thing. It's on my stereo anyway.
The production on this record to cut in Simon and Andrew is just phenomenal. They got some great sounds. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know, mixed in with that thing, it's so I think an amazing kind of opener. And the thing I noticed was that I could see why Jimmy Page wanted to play with them and did that live at the Greek thing. Just from this track, you know, it has enough of the Zeppelin-esque kind of play in it. I think mixed in with a bit of faces. You know, clearly if he heard it, he thought, they could do our stuff, you know. So I felt like, you know, I could see why he chose them just from that one song.
Yeah.
But as I say, for me, huge sound. You know, the solo still has got a massive, you know, huge, thick sound. I don't know if it's double tracked, but twin track solo, but, you know, amazing. So 10 out of 10 for me, definitely never a skip. You know,
awesome.
You know, tremendous opener.
I'm glad that we all agree. And as usual, guys, if you want to put in your track rankings, I see Ellen has agreed with us, and she's given a 10 out of 10 too. So jump in, guys, give us your rankings, and if you disagree with any of the rankings we give, let us know. Give us both barrels. We'll take it. We'll take the time out. Guys, the second song, Jealous Again. Now, when I listened to this on the headphones the first time in preparation for the show, I had the image of the Rock Professor, and I hate that when I'm listening to music and the Rock Professor comes into my mind.
Well,
and
yes.
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't like it. I don't like it when the Rock Professor comes into my mind. But he came into my mind, and he had this song called Swing. There's Swing. This song has rock and roll swing. That open G tuning that played that's chugging away in the intro, just again as a continuation of the first song. But the real gem, the real beauty of this song is in the keyboards. The lovely run that's played with Chris when he's singing. It's just absolutely beautiful. And again, it's something that we all are familiar with. You know, I remember reading the record, Simon and Brad, and being familiar with Chuck Leavell because we knew who he was. We knew who this guy was. And this guy, rock and roll freaking legend, was playing with these guys. So when we read that, we made that name connection. So obviously, if this guy's playing with these guys again must be cool. Yeah, you know. So and then and you hear it. I'm a fan of listening to cans. Simon, the Rock Professor, will tell you he blasts his stereo. Brad, he's Instagram clips of him blasting his car stereo. But me, I'm sitting back with my cans. I'm listening to everything. I do
headphones. When I'm analysing, I do headphones. Absolutely,
I know
headphones.
you do. I'm just
I do
telling a
everything.
story. Okay, the rock professor does everything. But I got to tell you guys, it blew me away hearing the keyboards on this. It just adds something behind Brad, all that rock and roll that we love, all that guitar stuff. That outro solo, this outro solo on this song is phenomenal. Rock and roll does that, and there's not too many songs that fail with good outros that I know of, and this is probably one of the best outros too. I love the tambourine, the lovely little tambourine that's in there too that you can hear. You guys mentioned it before, the production, the engineering of this, done on a budget, but done well. Guys, I have to give this a 10 out of 10 as well. I didn't want to give it a 10, Brad. I didn't want to, but I had to. Brad.
You're stuck with a 10 with this song, unfortunately, and I may have given away my score already, but you're stuck with it. It's like mandatory. You can't go away from a 10 for Jealous Again. Now, listen, the first time I ever heard this song, I remember specifically watching TV at my mate Luke Foley's house. I just said it in the intro, like we were playing pool, and I sat down. It was late. We were watching TV, music TV.
We love you, Luke. We love Luke.
Yep, and his brother Brad Foley. But we're watching a program here in Australia called Rage, which is a music TV program, and I was giving up because it was a lot of the stuff I wasn't really into being played at the time. I was ready to go to bed. So I'm out of here. I'm going, and this song came on, and I was just like, "Who's these guys? I've never heard of them before." And I actually thought it was a clip from the 70s. Like I thought it was like the guys looked like they dressed like they were in that 70s era, like the bit of a street vibe as well with the hats and the hair, and everything. I was just like, wow, these guys have got something really cool. How come I've never heard of these guys before? I was actually angry at myself that I thought, I mean, from the intro of the song onwards, I could hear things from the past. I could hear the Faces. Yeah. I could hear the Rolling Stones. I could hear Led Zeppelin. I could hear classic rock vibes. It was just like, I was shocked that it was a new band. And for me, I loved that there was finally a new band that I could sink my teeth into. And I felt the same way about Lenny Kravitz. Like, it was the same thing for me. It was like, finally something that's coming out that I can sink my teeth into. Look, the vocals, the guitars, the piano, the drums, the bass, everything is so tight. The main thing that stood out to me was their sound. It's infectious, and they never stepped away from that sound no matter what album they did. Their productions may have changed, but they kept that sound. They developed a little bit more. I was going to put in comparison to, say, AC/DC, but I think they developed a little bit more as songwriters than AC/DC, sort of stuck to a formula, and that was it. But they had their sound, the Black Crowes thing, and again, I have to give it 10 out of 10. And the film clip to this song is sensational. It's just got a vibe. They captured them in the studio jamming, and you couldn't have been anything but hooked with this song and the film clip. Simon.
I couldn't agree more. Yes, I think it has, as you said, those classic rock vibes. I'll just say good morning to Hugh Caldwell and the Pride of Gothenburg. Morning, guys. Hope we're good. Yes, absolutely. That Faces inspired, kind of with the Zeppelin-esque bit. Yeah, and absolutely. I think the interesting thing is that clearly they sort of got on with it and recorded it, in a good way, live. That's the way it should be. But I think I would be interested to know what kind of post-production stuff you did, because clearly I think, it's fine, by the way, it's not a criticism, they've been able to work on it post-production and, mixing and do all of that stuff is, definitely going on. So a 10 out of 10 for me, never a skip, a great second track on the, and as I say, kind of, that continuation of that sound, as you said, Brad, it's kind of, they have a sound. This is the sound we're going to do on this record, and that's so the first two tracks very similar sound, and as you say, the blistering guitar solo at the end is fantastic. Especially Helene doesn't like this album very much, so she's look at that, Mr. shaking his head, frowning. Not everyone can like what you like, Mr. Walter. That's life. You never get invited to everything. Get over it.
We're not going to talk about Helene's comment there. It's a democracy. It's not a dictatorship. The show's not a dictatorship. So
if she doesn't love it, she doesn't love it. And don't you criticize. That's enough of that.
No, trust me. Helene knows rock and roll. She knows rock and roll. She's she knows it. So look, yeah, seriously, obviously, clearly, everyone is entitled to an opinion, and that's one of the great things that we do on this show is that we love to share. And Helene's giving us her score. Sister Luck, guys, I have to tell you, if you thought that, and there's a couple of other songs to come, if you thought that Chris couldn't do lyrics, gosh, the lyrics on Sister Luck, just phenomenal. I think he's just one of North America's great rock and roll songwriters. And there's going to be a couple more great songs that we're going to talk about, and hopefully Helene might give those songs 10s. The intro is fantastic, isn't it, Brad? It's great. I'm going to use a lot of cliches here, but I can't escape it. It's just that rock and roll intro, and then and the solo. That first solo is just phenomenal. Again, you got Chuck Leavell playing the piano during the verses. Again, just fantastic. What I like also about this particular song, and I heard it pretty well, is that the vocals are up front. So the other two songs, the previous two songs, the vocals are back a little bit in the mix. And I noticed on this song in particular that Rich is singing a little bit, in front of the mix, and that's not surprising when you consider the tone of the song. Brad, forgive me, brother, forgive me, but I got to give this a 10 out of 10 too. I just think it's fantastic. It's a phenomenal rock and roll song, Brad.
Yeah. Well, the Luck, to me, it's got that the intro in particular it's real reminiscent of the Stones. Like, I'm really hearing some Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood sort of playing there together. It sounds like obviously they were drenching their ears with that. So and to me, it's not a bad thing to me because they're just nodding to their heroes. But they had, like I said, the influences are there. They had their own sound though. Because I think they're a little bit more rock than the Stones, in my opinion, a little bit heavier than the Stones. So They had that influence there. I mean, how good is the guitar tone on this song, guys? I listened to this song 3 times today just because of the guitar tone alone. I was just like, this is sensational. Look, the song comes in with swagger and style. There's some great verses, and the melody through the choruses are fantastic. The harmonies with this band, and credit to Chris Robinson, his melody and the way that he would get the band to sing harmonies and him singing his own harmonies as well. Such a talented guy. And, I love the outro of this song too. I love the way they end this song. I love the outro to it. The guitar solos are great. Look, I'm going to back you up here, Andrew. I know we've got, some people here that aren't agreeing with us here, but 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip, I'm all about backing you on this one, that's for sure.
Rock Professor.
Yeah. Yes. Well, clearly, to me, the root of this song is Guns N' Roses' version of "Knocking on Heaven's Door." I can sing "Knocking on Heaven's Door" to this, and that sound is the sound. Very much equate that with the Guns N' Roses version of "Knocking on Heaven's Door." Like, it's a good. You're making a face, Mr. Walton. You disagree?
No. I've never thought of that.
No.
Never thought of it.
It's. I mean, straight away I thought of it. I mean, to me, it's like Guns N' Roses crossed with Leonard Skinner. You know, it has that kind of southern vibe that Leonard Skinner, early Leonard Skinner, has. But yeah, when I just started singing "Knocking on Heaven's Door" straight off, and you go, "That's what it is. It's knocking on heaven's door." Done like I think Guns N' Roses did it in the late 80s, didn't they? So that's what I thought about.
Well, they actually officially released it in '91. I think these guys beat them to it in a recording.
So they beat them to it in a recording sense. So, yeah. Okay. So that's how it struck me. I mean, and could I say not in a great way, in a really good way. I mean, it's they made it their own and did their own thing. It's it's a fantastic, as the Hammond organ really makes it, I think, as well. Chuck Leavell playing the Hammond organ is fantastic coloration and difference in this, But yeah, I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. I mean, I think that it's, it's really big. It's really, and you can't go wrong with "Knocking on Heaven's Door" if you want a sort of anthemic basis on which to build a song.
Look, I agree with you. And an Australian band, Cold Chisel, do a fantastic version of "Knocking on Heaven's Door" on one of their live albums. Yeah. Look, I agree with you. But jeepers, guys, we're on par. I love it when the rock and roll boys are on par. That's great. Who cares what people are saying in the chat?
Our loyal people in the chat are not to be chastised, Mr. Wilson.
Could I have been so blind? No, I'm sorry. No, I'm not blind to it. Could I have been so blind is the next song. I just want to tag on to a comment that Brad made on the last song. And we'll put up some pics, and we're going to just illustrate something for you guys there. Rock and roll bands have to have a guitar player playing a Gibson guitar and another guitar player playing a Fender. And this band does it well with Jeff Cease on predominantly Gibson Les Pauls. And then you've got Chris predominantly on his Telecaster, but certainly on this album, that's what they're playing. We love the interweaving of guitars, don't we, guys? And I can hear the interweaving of the guitars, especially on this song. This is when it starts coming through. And I think it's because they've deliberately put the bass. They've buried the bass a little bit. There's no Johnny Colt on this song, on this number. The drum solo at the start is phenomenal, isn't it? And again, when we put up some pics, the drummer's just got a basic Charlie Watts drum kit. He's not playing with a bottom kit. He's not playing with with the Alex Van Halen kit. It's just a basic rock and roll kit that he's got. But boy, he makes it sting. Brad, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. But my 8 out of 10 is a high 8. It's a high 8. I can't give this a 10 out of 10. Only because I think the bass, there's just something for me that's just not there with that bottom end on the song. Brad.
Yeah, well, could I have been so blind? Maybe you were a little bit blind there, Andrew, with your scoring, but I won't knock you on that one. I understand what you're saying, a high 8, so I understand that. It's not a low 8.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. I love the raunchy guitar sound and the intro. It's, when the song comes in, the vocals take over, the song has power and soul. And that's one thing that's quite amazing about Rich Robinson. He would, Chris Robinson, sorry, I get the brothers mixed up all the time. Chris Robinson's vocal, whenever he sings, he puts soul to his voice, so it automatically feels like he's adding soul to the song. And I don't know if it's the way his phrases or whatever. It's just soulful and powerful. The song goes into like that double time feel in parts. with the 12-bar blues sort of shuffle down, and then he picks up and then drops back down when the verse starts. I love that stuff. The choruses are very catchy. There's some great backing vocals on this. The solo is really cool. I love how the songs that they were performing, especially like this one, they ended them like they were on stage. There's just something cool about that on a record, and I hate hearing
Good point.
Where
Good
songs
point.
fade out, because that to me is a cop out, because it's like, where do we go? Well, we just fade the song out. Where these guys had an arrangement, and look, I've always adored this song, and I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. It's never a skip for me.
Hooray!
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Do you know what? That's something I discovered about you yesterday, Brad. You don't like fade outs.
I like a song to end like it's on stage,
Yeah. End it properly. Stop messing about. So, yes, to me, a very Stonesy song. Very kind of has that kind of Stones thing, that the interplay between the two guitars prominent on here. Again, as you say, with the backing vocals as well, a bit of a kind of different vibe to it that I think is really good at this point. You've had three with that very much the same sound. You've got to do something a bit different. I'm talking about tracking and and putting songs in particular places. So I think this does a really good job of just changing it up a bit, giving you a different sound a little bit. Not go straying too far, but some different bits around the edge that so it's a 9 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. That's a tremendous first side. Me and my sides.
Awesome.
Sorry, Andrew.
That's okay, bro. I was going to say we should look at the picks, but what were you going to say, brother?
I just think maybe I'm coming from a biased position with my rankings. I don't know. I'm trying not to, guys. Believe me, I'm trying to just rank them as an album. But the Black Crowes are within my top 10 bands of all time, favorite bands of all time. So it's hard to rank them low.
You're allowed to.
You're
allowed to, brother. This is what rock and roll's about. Look, guys, we're going to throw up some picks, and we can just go through them and talk about them. So just give me a second. There it is. What a great cover!
It's fun.
That black and white. We love it. We've seen it with the Beatles. We saw it with the Rolling Stones. We saw it with Van Halen. Look at that, Moody. Look at that. What does that tell you, Brad and Rock Professor?
Only spoiled by having the name on the front. They obviously lost that argument.
That's a wonderful piece of art there, right there. Just the way the photography, the way they've captured the band, it's just fantastic.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I've always liked album covers where the band are on it or the artists are on it, whatever it may be, and it's not just a picture of them; it's them being artistic. Because at the end of the day, musicians are artists. They're painting color with music, so it's good to have a band that we're all about sort of trying to capture the vibe of the band on a record cover too. I love it.
And it does sort of hark back, doesn't it, to that first Rolling Stones record when they just had them on the front cover kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know they didn't put their name on, but it's cool.
So these are the main guitars that Rich used on the album. So you can, if you guys can read that, the first one's a 70s custom Telecaster. That's his first serious guitar, and then it's followed by a 68 Telecaster with a humbucker that already was installed in it when he bought it, but took off apparently the Bixby vibrato just before they recorded the first album. And then the Les Paul here was altered by somebody as well before he bought it. So
is it just worn off in the bottom left quadrant? It's just worn away.
Well, apparently he bought it like that.
Right. God, it was already worn away, was it? Before he bought it. Blimey. Cool guitar though.
It's great.
This is not period correct. Chris has put a little bit of weight on there, but still a cool pick. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, yeah, that's Rich. That was Rich Robinson. So that's the band there. They're a motley crew looking band. They look like they could be, Deep Purple or something. That's what I always thought. They had that sort of thing going on.
With Lemmy.
Yeah, well, it looks like similar to a photo of Deep Purple taken at California Jam or something. That's what I've always thought.
Yeah.
Always loved Johnny Colt. Love him, especially in that Remedy video that was off the second album that we'll do one day too. But yeah, Johnny Colt. There's that's Chris. That's the drummer Steve.
Yeah.
Jeff Cease, who they sacked after the first album.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. There's a couple of theories about why they sacked him. One of the first theories I heard, guys, is that he was developing a bit of a cult following as a guitar player. And they didn't want that. The Robertsons didn't want that. So that's one of the reasons why they think they got rid of him and replaced him with a guy called Mark Ford, who Brad and I absolutely adore, who went on and did some great single stuff. But he got kicked out of the Black Crowes too because of his drug habit. So rock and roll, eh?
Yep.
Who'd have guessed?
That's a great photo. That's probably on the set. Is that on the set of Jealous Again?
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's playing Rich's Les Paul there.
Yep.
Is that got P90 in the front?
Yeah, can you notice it's got a P90 in the front?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I had to dig through some of my old guitar stuff, and I found a thing where Rich is talking about how he used his he had a Blonde 68 Telly, his gold top that he had forever, and what is it? We thought it was a 50s model, but they later found out it was a 68. The gold top was really messed up, paint worn off, and it had a DiMaggio humbucker and a P90 in the neck.
Is that the one that Andrew showed in the first picture?
Yeah, the gold top.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew.
That one.
No. It's all, So you can see that he's on. This was a photograph taken from a 2007 vintage guitar magazine. So he's replaced that P90, and these were current as of 2007. But yeah, so you can see clearly on that shot there that it's got a P90.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, clearly the same guitar, isn't it? Because it's got all that wearing at the.
100%. Chris Robinson.
Heavily influenced by Steve Tyler as well, as far as being, the front man theatrics.
100%.
In terms of style, I don't hear much Aerosmith in terms of their music.
No, more style.
Yeah,
but I will say this: heavily influenced by Rod Stewart.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a cool.
That's a picture of the brothers.
Yep. Very cool.
Looks like he's playing a custom there. Les Paul custom.
Yeah.
Well, I presume if you start going out live and doing open tuning calls, stuff like that, you need some guitars, don't you, to do it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice custom. Very nice.
Another band shot.
Yep.
John Z351 said these guys are obviously hard to get along with, even with each other.
Yep.
Yeah, well, the brothers have a notorious relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. Fiery.
That's a great picture.
What is the black
Playing the Telecaster Custom there again.
Yeah. With the humbuckers.
Yeah. Very cool.
Now, I found this. Who's this guy here? I could not find. Who's that? Who's this dude here? For a second there, I thought it was Johnny Cash, and then had another look. And no, that's not Johnny Cash. If someone can tell me, is that their dad?
I'm not sure, mate.
No idea. They're not immediately recognisable.
So if anybody knows, because there's a song that we'll talk about later on when we rank the song, and there's a connection between Rich and his dad on an instrument that they use. So we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Jeff and Rich again, looking cool, looking rock and roll cool. Gibson and the Fender.
So Jeff Cease is a left-hander.
No,
he's
not
right.
left-hander. Just holding it upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Little Fender champ.
Aye. Bottle of Southern Comfort there. Look at that Southern Comfort. Look at that.
Empty bottle.
With the top of the bottle broken off. They probably broke it off to use it as a slide.
Oh. Do you remember those Southern Comfort days? I used to drink it straight out of the... Oh, my Lord. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
There's Johnny. And that's Jeff playing a Strat.
Very cool.
And nice. Yeah. So using Marshalls. Yeah. Classic combo. Yeah.
The Marshall that Rich used on the first record is, well, basically it's the Silver Jubilee, which is what JCM Slash is. So it's like my unmodded version of that. So
correct.
So it's the Silver Jubilee. He had a half stack. And then on stage and whatnot, all through those early 90s, he was using Silver Jubilees.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And
yeah.
Rolling Stone, just as they were breaking. So another cool band shot. Look at that Telecaster.
Yeah. On the cover of the Rolling Stone.
All right, so there's I couldn't get some decent pics of the drummer. So there, look at that snare.
Yeah.
Bass. A tom.
Yeah, it's from the Max Weinberg school of drumming. Max Weinberg from Bruce Springsteen's band has a drum kit like that. Just one floor tom, one tom mounted on his bass drum, a snare and a bass drum.
Yep.
4 drums, more than enough for any
more than enough. And he used that right through his career. So if you go and have a look at the videos of the Black Crowes, and the drummer's a big guy and he's sitting behind his kit, it almost looks comical. It almost looks. But I think that's one of the reasons, Brad, and the Rock Professor Wyatt sound so good, because he's a big, strong guy, and he got a basic kit, so clearly he can bang the bejesuses out of the skins.
He's a hard hitter.
Yeah.
Look at that. Rich is cool, isn't he?
Look at this.
That's it, guys.
So is that
Thank you for letting... No, it's a Gibson ES355
with a Bigsby. Yeah. Doesn't he have? He has a Gretsch. He has a Gretsch. He plays Gretches quite a lot, doesn't he, Chris Robinson? I'm sure I read that.
Later on, but not early on.
He does, yeah. Oh no, yes, early on. This record sounds like a a humbucker and a Marshall. Absolutely, it does. Not much in between.
We got Keith Campbell in the chat. Keith Campbell sent me a message the other day.
Morning,
he
Keith.
went and saw. Oh my Lord. Oh, Keith, you're gonna have to remind me. I've got brain fade. He saw somebody play in a little bar somewhere. Oh.
Yes. Larry Mitchell. He went to see Larry Mitchell play.
Yes.
Yes. How was that, Keith? Hope it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for letting me put the picks up, guys. We're on to Seeing Things. Gosh, I can't escape it. When I first heard this song, and I've heard it again and again, and I heard it again a couple of days ago, I keep hearing I Got the Blues from the Stones, from Sticky Fingers. It's got that I Got the Blues vibe going through it. Clearly on the right hand, you can hear Jeff playing Brad and the Rock Professor. And on the left hand, you can hear Rich playing. So great, very, very good engineering. You can hear the different techniques. And then again, the delicate keys of Chuck just behind the back. It's fantastic. A nice surprise too, isn't it? When you've got Linda Creamer, apparently, and I did a bit of a search on her, so she's got a bit of rock and roll history, and she's doing the nice vocal harmonies, which added something a little bit different, didn't it, guys? It was nice hearing that feminine side to a rock and roll side that we'd been drenched in. Guys, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10, but it's a high 9, Brad. It's a high 9.
That's okay. That's okay.
Hey, Texas. Good to see you, brother. It's been a long time.
Yeah, morning, Tim. How you doing? Hope you're good.
Happy with a high 9, Andrew. I'm quite happy with that. Seeing Things. It's a great fifth song. Mellow vibes and look, some very soulful singing from Chris on this one. I reckon you can really hear his influences on this song as well, vocal influences. Like you said about the organ feel, it's just fantastic. I love that. The pre-chorus is reminiscent to the Stones without a doubt for me. And the chorus could be stolen directly from the Stones. But the beautiful thing, it's not stolen. It doesn't sound like it's stolen, but it sounds like it could be part of a Rolling Stone song for me. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well, Andrew, and I'm never going to skip this one. The only reason I wouldn't give this a 10 is because the way I've had to rank the other songs. So it's hard to keep giving 10s and everything. So, yeah.
Yep.
It's a high 9 for me as well.
Cool. Rock Professor.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to bring up with you, because it struck me probably around about here, I made a little note of it, that the drum sound that they got on this record is a very hard drum sound. Yeah, it's absolutely, and I think it works really well on the drums. But I slightly wanted them to lay off it a bit in the slightly more sort of slower numbers. I felt they were it was a bit overpowering. I'm looking back on it 32 years later, kind of thing. I don't know if you guys felt that a bit. That actually just. Not the playing. The playing is fantastic. The sound of the drums, that really kind of smacked snare was just like, I felt on some of the tracks needed to be just calmed down a bit.
I can't say, Rock Professor, I noticed that, to be fair. I can't say.
No.
It was something that I noticeably heard.
No, that's right. That's fine. It just struck me. I think, and maybe I made a note of it on this track because it's a bit slower and a bit lighter. The drums, but couldn't agree with you more. That soulful kind of Rod Stewart type vocals on it and stuff, and with the chorus with the backing singers, again that kind of coloration giving it a different thing, and the organ break with the piano. So you've got organ and piano on it as well. Again, giving it a different kind of coloration thing. Good idea for track 5, I think. 8.5 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. As I say, I got half off for my. No, it's not even annoyance. It's just an observation that if it had been me, it's like if I'd been doing it, I would have just. Well done.
You would have been telling everyone to stop, get the drummer to stop playing so hard.
Easy. Right, that drum sound. Lay off that. Right, do something with that. Re-EQ it, for God's sake.
Change the snare over, for God's sakes. Stop
God's
hitting it
sake.
so hard.
Turn the sticks around so they're the right way round, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Get some brushes.
Brushes, get in.
Hey,
Track
hey,
5, we're on brushes.
Get the triangle out. It's good to see that I'm not the only one that had nightmares with Southern Comfort too. Good to see everyone sharing
Well
their
done.
bad times on Southern Comfort Street.
2 litres in one night, Warren. Bloody hell.
Oh my lord.
That's sticking it to the man, isn't it?
Oh. And what a hangover.
Sick for a week.
Oh my lord. Those days are long gone.
Yeah, me
gosh.
too.
Yeah. Soft.
Yeah.
Hard to handle. The first cover. And what's really interesting, guys, is that the album is named after a Elmore. Who's the Elmore? Elmore James. Elmore James. But Shake Your Moneymaker obviously isn't a song on this album, but the blackcrowes played it quite a lot in their set. This was the first single, and look, guys, I keep telling you guys when we do some of these records, we have to remember that this song was a popular song. This song was being played in top 10 commercial pop radio stations, and it, as Brad said, it had a place. It fitted. It worked well. It wasn't something that was completely out of place. It was familiar to us. I loved it. I loved the song. The video was fantastic. We've got to remember that too, that MTV generation where videos were really, really important. I think they had 4 videos for this album, which certainly helped them do really well. Chris is on fire, isn't he? On this vocal. And that the brilliant scorching solo, but the second solo in particular, Brad and the Rock Professor, the second solo is phenomenal, blows me away. I wanted to give this a 10 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, and I'm happy with that, but it's never a skip. Fantastic single, great song, and again, one of the band's staple numbers. Brad.
For me, it's a really great version of Otis Redding's song, Hard to Handle. I mean, look, like I said to you yesterday in yesterday's show, I like a band that can do a cover version and do it their own way, not to try and sort of like take it as if it's their own song. And I love how the blackcrowes did that. So you've pretty much got some really snappy drumming from Steve on the drums in that intro. It's a signature almost for people who play this song. I think I've heard more cover bands play this version of this song than the Otis Redding version. So I love the Otis Redding version, by the way. It's one of my all-time favorite songs from Otis Redding. I love it.
Absolutely.
The horns and everything. So the guitars are playing what's commonly known as the horn lines in the original version. So that's pretty cool. There's some raunchy guitar tones in this song. Chris Robinson sings it his own way. He's owning it. Really, truly is feeling the song. It's a nice little guitar solo, and I've put here the outro solo of the song is sensational. I love this version of the song, and I've played it so many times all through the 90s into the 2000s. In one of my very first bands, we toured around Australia for like 6 years, and this song we never skipped, and I won't skip it today. And I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow. Hey, Johnny Bean.
Morning, Johnny. Yeah, so I, like Brad, used to play this in our band. Absolutely used to play this version in the band that I played in for a long time, the Steelers. Great song, great version. I think this is a great version. The swing, it's got fantastic swing in it, and swing and swagger to it that really give it something. And the amount of people times you play it and you get up and people just get up and dance to it. I mean, it's got that thing that gets people to get up. And I think that the interesting is that the hardest bit to do on it, I think, to make is the drumming bit. Is to make the drums swing so that you get that swing into it. I've played couple of times with people who didn't quite have it, and then it didn't quite work. For the most part, we had a drummer who made it work, and it was fantastic. But I do notice that about it. Brad's exited, furious with what I just said. Here he comes. What happened there, Brad? He's gone all red now.
I'm embarrassed, mate. I'm embarrassed.
No, what for? No idea what for. So I love the two guitar solos. That, especially the second one, he goes, comes in with that great bend note. It's just brilliant. And I'm boogieing around the kitchen listening to this. Kind of absolutely 10 out of 10 for me. Never ever a skip. It's one of my favourite tracks of anything, awesome. Really. Whenever it comes on, just off you go. Yes, 10 out of 10. Mr. Walton's awesome. Doing it a disservice.
It's a high 9. There was an interesting comment that Texas. I thought I had it, but they would have tracked with the drums live, so that makes perfect sense. Thick and thin. Again, guys. Again. So I'm hearing when I listen to this, I'm hearing "Shake Your Hips" by the Stones. There's that fallback to and again, I'm going to borrow what Brad said. It's not a bad thing. It's fantastic. It's great. It's rock and roll guys continuing that legacy of rock and roll all that way back 32 years ago in 1990, still making it relevant. The drumming, Brad, in particular, with the ride cymbal is fantastic. We've got a different technique from Steve going on. It's very tasty, to use Brad's word. It's a tasty, nice little trick that they've got going there. And finally, we get some bass. Finally, we get to hear we Johnny Colt play.
Is it a thing about the early 90s? Because you talk a lot about Van Halen not having any bass in their things. Is it a similar kind of era thing? Is it, or not the same at all?
I think
it's a technology thing too, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah, but I think also like early 90s Van Halen, they're like For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge had great bass sounds in it. So
I
think that late 80s period there was always like the bass seemed to always get pushed back in mixes unless you were like Lenny Kravitz or something like that. Guns N' Roses, though, the bass is fairly up front in that. So it really came down to the producer, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, Andrew.
No, but I'm going to just take what Brad said and just have a little conversation about it, because I think it's really interesting. But the bass is played differently, though, in Guns N' Roses. It's played through a chorus. You've got Duff playing with a pick. It's not buried. It's actually up there as an instrument in its own. So, and that's what makes that album fantastic, because every single song you can hear the bass. Can't wait for when we do Appetite for Destruction. Anyway, look, I do love
British
the bass.
blues record?
Hey,
is that a British blues record?
no, but Izzy Stradlin looks like Keith Richards, so that's gonna do. That's gonna be
close enough for us.
Well, I think Izzy always wanted to be Ronnie Wood, so
okay, they're in.
We're taking over Andrew's ranking. Off you go, mate. Sorry,
Andrew.
It's okay. So, guys, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. It's a nice song. It's a great, it's a nice song. But I'm going to be happy with my 7 out of 10. Brad.
All right.
Sorry, brother.
That's all right. We're all entitled to rank how we want. That's fine. But I won't hold it against you. I'm joking. Look, this song always used to catch me while I was driving my car, because that car crash noise at the start.
Yeah.
I think someone crashed next to me. Because it would all get me every single time. Even I'd be like, "What? Oh, it's the song." Look, it's a nice little ball tearing 2.5 2 minute 30 song. Some great vocals and very dynamic drumming. I think the guitars really swinging in this one over the top of the beat, very reminiscent of the Stones. And I can hear a bit of Faces in this song as well, especially vocally. The Rod Stewart thing with Chris Robinson is very apparent to me. I love the little breakdown section and the little those upstrokes, a very Keith Richards thing that he does. I always used to love the song, and listening to this album again this week, it's been I've resonated with this song still, so I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, and it's never a skip for me.
Hey,
Awesome.
well done. No.
Simon.
Yeah, it's funny. Yes, what comes to me is that Stones influence as well. I was trying to put my finger on what the song was, so kind of thing. But cool song. You know me. I'm always keen on breaking things up and having different sounds and different things on records. And for me, this is one of those. I'm 7.5 out of 10, but I'd never skip it.
Yep.
I think I'm a bit more with Andrew on it than maybe you are, Brad. But it's not a skip. I like the contrast between the previous and what comes next. And I think that contrasts are important for me in terms of in terms of the running order. This is track 2 on side 2 if we're doing vinyl. And so perfectly fine track, yes, just a bit slighter and a bit but you can't have everything. Everything can't be like otherwise it just gets a bit out of kilter to me. So 7.5 out of 10, but not a skip.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, Simon. I think they knew that the next song that we're going to talk about was certainly something spectacular.
Yeah.
And they had a look at their songs, and we know that putting songs in an order is either a good thing for an album or something that they haven't put much thought into. But I think they certainly did put some thought into putting this song before the next song, because the next song is phenomenal. If the band only ever recorded one song, and it would give them the keys to rock and roll superstardom, it could be this song. And what's really interesting about this song is that it's not the rock and roll song that we were talking about on side 1. This song has something that's unique to itself. It's the anthem to all goth girls. The lyrics, what Chris is singing, and the lyrics and the way he sings it is just phenomenal. And I know that Brad's got a fantastic story to share with you guys about it. What have I got here? The organ, when the organ comes in with the band, after the acoustic part, what's really interesting is that it's not a shock, it's not a smack in the face, it's not a bash through the door. It just comes in and then it comes back down again. It's fantastic engineering. It's got swing. I'm going to Brad score this. I have to Brad score it. It's 100 out of 10. The intro is fantastic. Played on Rich's dad's 53 Martin, a D28. It's fantastic. I love all versions of the song, the live versions. They certainly do this song well. It's a masterpiece. Brad.
Wow. Look, I know, for example, this song, the riff had been written by Rich Robinson back when he was 17 years old. And obviously this song, I don't know if you mentioned that, Andrew, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway. But I have to back you up. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's majestic at points. From the very beautiful acoustic intro, that vocal melody through the verses, it's so melodic. The lyrics are just like you've hit the nail on the head, Andrew. It's like an anthem to goth women, but the lyrics are beautiful, and I love the lyrics. It's every songwriter's dream to write a song like this, in my opinion. The organ playing, the catchy choruses, the vocals through the choruses, the band's performance all through this song is next level to me. And I always put bands on, pedestals, and I think every band has their own thing. But these guys were shining on this song above any band of this era when it comes to melody and everything. They were like what a good rock band were meant to be for me in this time frame in the early 90s. You can get lost in this song. It's a classic example of, when you listen to a song, you get lost. The power of music takes over. You truly get lost. I had the fortunate ability and pleasure of seeing the Black Crowes in concert at the Horton Pavilion in Sydney back in 1992, on June the 27th, 1992. And this was the third song they brought in the set list. So they had No Speak, No Slave, Twice as Hard than She Talks to Angels. So a weird spot to put this song in the set list. But I have to say, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, that everyone, it's when you go to a heavy metal concert, everyone's got this aggression thing going and they're all hyped, they're fist pumping, they're going crazy. When you go to a rock band, everyone's drinking and going crazy, party vibe. When you go see the Black Crowes, everyone's chill and enjoying the moment and soaking it all up. For me, that was one of the greatest concerts I've ever been. I think there's two concerts that I can remember that are on par, was the Black Crowes and Lenny Kravitz on the Universal Love Tour. And this particular gig, I walked out feeling enchanted, like I'd experienced something on a higher level. If that makes any sense to anyone, I hope it does.
Yep.
Song, when they performed this song, every single person in the place sung, like every single sung all the lyrics from the start to the finish.
Cool. Yeah.
Goosebumps. This is by far one of the highlight songs on the album. This was the highlight song of the night at that concert. I can't write enough good things about this song. I can't really talk about it anymore, so I have to give it 100 out of 10. It's a masterpiece, and like I said before, if any rock band would dream to write a song this good, and these guys just did it naturally. So there you go.
There's just something about, she'll tell you she's an orphan after you meet her family. It's just, just simple words, but gosh, if you've ever hung out or been with somebody that's complicated, and I'm sure some of us have, and I mean that in a good way too.
It's all part of learning.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's fantastic. It's a masterpiece. I have to agree with you. Rock Professor.
Yes, I mean, this is probably the outstanding track on this album, isn't it? It's the one that takes it up a level. From the acoustic strumming, I mean, I think the drums and the organ, when they come in and give it real color and stuff, and give an extra dimension. It's a 10 out of 10 from me, only because I think I'm complaining about the drum sound. So I'm only giving it a 10 out of 10. must try harder with the drum sound.
You should try and overlook the drumming on the sound, maybe.
Oh, well, do you know what? 20 years ago, I would have never bloody noticed the drum sound. It's only the last 20 years I've started to pay attention to drummers and drum sound. And look what's happened. It's ruined it for me. No, it's
Texas.
Sorry.
Texas makes a good point about the tunings. Yeah, and that's on my notes. Thank you, Texas. The open E tuning, the tonality difference that the song provides, that's different from the open G songs, is again something out of the Rolling Stones, and also, as Brad said, the Faces. And we're going to talk about the Faces from my perspective on the next song, because the Faces too, we got to remember, they were doing open D and open E stuff too. Not Ula. What was the second album? Gosh,
Not As Good as a Wink to a Blind Horse.
Yeah. So again, Ronnie was playing open E stuff too back in the day. So yeah, good point. Thank you, Texas.
Mm.
Yeah.
I have to say, Chris Robinson's vocals on this album are fantastic, but he was a young guy. You've got to put it into perspective. He's a young guy.
20.
I know.
20.
And to write lyrics of that content and to sing the way he sung on that song, like, wow, just incredible.
But don't we say that a lot, though, don't we? We say that a lot on here about, that how somehow people who are really young produce amazing stuff. How do they do it? Where does it come from? And, so, latest in the long line, 20 years old, producing stuff of such maturity is really cool. Interesting. Yeah.
Andrew.
Strutting Blues.
Okay.
Okay, this is the faces for me, guys. This is where I can't help but get some faces in the face. That lead work with the rhythm guitar is, again, it's stellar. It's a remarkable piece of musicianship. It's a fun song, and that change of tempo before the solo, I love that. It's a nice rock and roll solo, Brad and the Rock Professor. It's a simple solo. There's no 100 notes going on. It's just a pentatonic solo. It's fantastic. And the outro solo at the 3-minute mark is phenomenal. It's played with a wah, I think. So Brad, I'm going to give this a 9.5. Yeah, 9.5. I'm looking at I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Clever song.
Yeah, that's a good score. I mean, look, Strutting Blues, it's one of those, it's another raunchy guitar-driven song. I feel like the drums are really pushing this song. It's another example of Chris Robinson and his amazing ability to sing and sing the way he does on top of this band. And I love the halftime feel and the choruses. Really cool organ solo at times. Those little solo parts that are in there on the organ. I love the double time into the key change for the guitar solo. Some really tasty guitar playing through that section. The breakdown section at 2 minutes 40, it's very much like a Faces song to me. And you can be forgiven if you thought it was Rod Stewart singing in that spot. I have to sort of put it out there like that. It sounds like Rod Stewart singing in that section of that song. And the outro with that kicking guitar solo, some really nice bluesy licks, and classic fade out. I would have liked to have heard a rock ending on it, just because it fitted more with the album, like to do a big rock ending. But 9 out of 10 for me, never a skip. Rock Professor.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely right. I think, yes, very much the Faces in it. No bad thing, by the way.
No.
Faces are a great band, fantastic band. I saw them in 72, something like that. One of the first year of gigs I went to. I come to Colston Hall with a fantastic kind of sort of shambolic swagger. I'd describe the Faces as, and this has a tremendous swagger to it and stuff. You're absolutely right. It's driven along by tremendous drumming as well. 8.5 from me out of 10, but never a skip. Absolutely not. No, I think, and I think it's a bit in the shade of the previous song, isn't it? A bit as well, but does a really good job. Does its thing where it is, and not the weakest song on the album, which is the second last track's always the weakest song on the album. Apparently, that could be a rule you could apply.
So there's a couple of things, guys, on the Spotify list and on Apple Music. It doesn't include the hidden track, and that was always something that stumbled a few people. On the cassette, it had it, and on the record. We didn't rank the hidden track, but I'm going to alert you to a gig that the Black Crowes did at Ronnie Scott's. And they do a version of the song, and I didn't write it down, but go and check it out. It's an acoustic song, and Chris is playing harmonica, so he's pretty good. Steer It Cold. Brad, open G chug. You know, we opened up with an open G and we're ending it with an open G chug. With swing. So the rock professor loves swing. He loves it. He's not getting dizzy because he loves swing. If there's swing, he's not giddy. The vocals, nice vocals from Chris. That slide solo's fantastic. And again, guys, I've mentioned it before, the organ and the keyboards, just the way that it adds that rock and roll taste. It propelled the band, didn't it, too, after this album, and they realized they had to tour and get a full-time keyboard player in, because they themselves could hear the magic that Chuck was offering to their music. Brad, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Great way to finish an album.
Yeah, a strong album closer, definitely. The open G thing to open and close the album, that's a very important thing, I think, to set the mood for it's like book ending. This is what we do at the start. This is how we finish this album. It was alluding to what was to come for the second album, which is a phenomenal album as well. For me, it's another Keith Richards influence intro on guitar. It's an amazing performance by the band. You know, the drums, bass, and guitars are driving in this all in the same thing all the way along in the song. Some nice slide playing. The arrangement's great. The solo section in the breakdown, I think it's about 3 minutes 50 or 52. It's all class. The double time to fade out, 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. And what a hell of an album. And great choice, Andrew.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Good morning, Channel Kid. Hope you're all right. Hope it's going okay for you.
Yeah. And I like it well, brother.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Massive swaggering riff to start it all off with. You know, that really big. I don't know about you guys. I listening to it, particularly on headphones, I found it sometimes a bit overwhelming. I had to kind of stop and go away and come back again because the sound is so thick and so kind of big. The guitar sound. It's like sometimes I don't think I didn't listen to it in one session all the way through from beginning to end. I kind of had a break and went away because it's not a criticism. It's just how how it sort of affected me really is that that huge guitar sounds and stuff. I found sometimes a bit overwhelming. I had to go away and think about it and then come back again, play some more. But as you say, it's a fantastic song, massive drums. Again, the slide solos are great, and and drums and slide and piano at the end, just to turn it off. 9 out of 10 for me. 9 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. And a fantastic end to the record, really. And, really cool.
Yeah, that's
proper.
Good to see how they knew how to finish this record on a high. I think it's great.
Even if they did a fade out.
Yeah. Look, I forgive them for doing fade outs, but I love how they would end a song and they seem to do that.
If you do them live, yeah. Did they stretch them out when you saw them live, Brad? Did they? I mean, just from was it pretty much?
Yeah,
5 minutes worth.
They definitely stretched them out. I mean, look, the thing is, set list. It was nearly a 2-hour show from memory, and they only played 9 songs. So that probably answers your question. But it was probably 1 hour and 45 to 1 hour to 2 hours, the show from memory, and 9 songs. So you can tell they obviously stretched them out. Hard to Handle went for a long time. they stretched that one out too. So yeah.
Awesome. I've just put the link to the live version of the hidden track that you guys should go and check out. And one of the reasons why I think it's really important is they've done this in 91. So they're still, riding that wave, Brad and the Rock Professor, from that phenomenal album that I think it was number 4 here in New Zealand. It was a huge album. Everybody was listening to this album. People that weren't even into rock and roll. That's one of the great things about what we were doing 30 odd years ago. Gosh, we're sounding like People that people used to talk like this when we were younger, aren't we?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
But I think everybody gets the point. Popular music, the top 10 was just full of variety, as opposed to the top 10 now. So thank you guys for allowing me to pick this album. We've been talking about this band on this channel for a long time in relationship to the Rolling Stones. We've done a few Stones albums, and this band is certainly a band that falls into that legacy of the Faces, of these British guys who took blues music and redeveloped it and turned it into something unique. And the good thing about the Black Crowes is that they took that and went back to the States with it and made it contemporary again. That cycle, that system that happens, we love it. So they've given it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, that, isn't it? It goes round. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Andrew, thanks for picking that album. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm probably going to sneak in a Black Crowes album here and there too now that you've done it.
Oh yeah. Well, absolutely. We'll go off on some tangents every now and again. So if you guys weren't aware of it, did we talk about this at the top of the show? Brad is absent without leave next weekend. He's doing something. He hasn't told us what he's doing, but he's just said, "I'm not coming in." So we said, "All right then." He still wants to get paid, believe it or not. So
I expect it. It's mandatory.
But he's managed to get a replacement. So we're going to have, if it works out fine for Hoss. Hoss is going to jump in the hot seat. He's going to pick the album because it would have been Brad's pick. So we're going to touch base with Hoss. So you need to check out the Rock Professors and Brad's, because I'm sure once we decide what the album's going to be, Brad will present it on his Instagram stories. Check out my Instagram; it'll be on there. We'll have to wait and see what Hoss comes up with. But we give permission for Brad. We give permission for him to.
Does he have a note from his mother? We know.
No, I'm jigging. I'm truanting. She probably doesn't know.
Truanting.
He's truanting. Actually, no, we won't say that.
I'm forging some letters now. I did it in Year 9 at high school, so I've been in trouble for that once before.
Who hasn't done that? Who hasn't forged a note from their parents going, "Simon's got a bad finger, he can't possibly do this"?
Yeah, I did too. So while we're talking about that, we'll tell each other what we did to forge. I got caught smoking at school camp, and by Mr. Daly, and he said, and it was the third day into a 5-day camp. He took our cigarettes. And he said to me, you will go home and you'll get your parents to write a note saying that they're disappointed with you smoking. And I couldn't go home and tell my parents that I got caught smoking because I'd get a hiding. I couldn't do that. So I flipped the coin. So I flipped the coin. Do I tell them and get a hiding, or do I do a bad thing and forge it? So I grabbed. I watched spy programs, so I realized how you do it. You get the piece of paper, you hold it up to the window, you get the piece of paper, and you forge the signature. Got away with it. I got away with it.
Well done. Fantastic.
What did you do? What did you guys do to? Well, Brad can't tell because he's going to get into trouble.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago now, Andrew. It was a long time ago. No, I was.
Shouldn't tell.
I hated the school I was going to. I wasn't allowed to go to the school where my mates went, so I was going to a school I hated. So I went through a stage where I was rebelling and I wanted to leave the school or just drop out. So I took more days off than I was at school for Year 9, and I forged I just put a signature in. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. And I I got away with it for a long time, and then I got caught. So
Do you only forge the signature, not the whole note?
no, I wrote the note, but it's forged a signature. Anyway, you know.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But it was
Oh, no, that's all right.
it was a lot of notes and signatures. It wasn't just one. It was a lot of times. And I got caught out that one time.
Well done. Well done.
So,
Creative type, you see.
I had some good times not going to school. Don't worry.
Yeah.
What did you
Simon
do?
won't
Rock
be in
Professor?
tomorrow. Oh, well, you know, dear Mr. So-and-so, Simon won't be in school tomorrow. He's got a dentist appointment. That happened one or two times.
The dentist one always worked well. Oh, I've got to get dental work. I can't come in.
Yeah. That's right. Yes, see, the classic. Although my favourite one of those is that we had to do a practical subject at school, you know, like metalwork or woodwork or something. And I'm not a practical person, so me and my friend Tony did. He lives in Melbourne actually, but we did design, right? But what was funny was that the design teacher never expected us to turn up. I think it was like on a Tuesday afternoon. We just used to go home and not do it. And then one day we turned up and he said, "What are you two doing here? You've never come to this lesson." And he didn't care that we didn't come. It's like we won't be disruptive. I think it was like surprising. Once we, I don't know why we did, but we go and say hello without a note.
Oh my Lord.
Terrible.
So we are rat bags. It's true. We are rat bags. You guys are awesome. It's always a pleasure hanging out with the Rock Professor and Brad, the backdoor man, who's going to leave us. He's ditching us next week. I hope he's coming back. I hope he might be ditching. He may have got a job offer too. It might be a nice way of saying
He's got a better offer.
Yeah, better offer. We'll find out.
You mentioned that. Andrew, it's funny you mentioned that. I got a follow from someone who unfollowed me yesterday. So, you've groomed me. You've groomed me.
They didn't mind if they groomed me for success.
You know, like my EP is called Time to Fly. It's time to fly.
No.
Please, everybody in the chat, ask Brad to come back. Please, ask him to come back. Please.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be. I wouldn't go to another channel if you asked me to. So.
All right. We love
Ellen
you.
Asks,
We love you
Ellen
too.
in the chat asks, "Did you go to the school you wanted then, Brad?" Question mark.
No, but I went to a different school anyway, so it was good to get out of that school. But I wanted to go to where my mate Luke Foley went, and I wasn't able to. I wasn't allowed to. But I went to a better school, which is so I managed to stay at school then instead of jigging.
Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, I went to a good school. It was approved, as the old gag goes.
So long as it wasn't Borstal.
It was a long time ago anyway. It doesn't matter. I can't even remember half the stuff these days. So
No.
Oh, listen to him, honestly. Brad went to school in the 1890s.
It surprised me when Andrew picked this album and I realised it had been in the green room when you said 32 years. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I remember lining up for this record at the record store. So
Fantastic. Yeah. Excellent choice.
Andrew.
Really good choice.
Andrew, catch him if you can. Well, that's right. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Keith, for the kind words. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys in the chat too. We're going to cruise. We're going to split. We're going to leave. We're off for a Southern like a Russian. We're going to make like a Russian and F off ski.
What's going on this afternoon?
Honestly, so that ginger beer clearly got stuff in it.
No, I'm pure. I've been pure. I've been pure since February the 25th, 2008.
Pure as driven coal dust.
We'll be back here. We'll be back here this time next week or something like this around this time with
we'll be
Hoss. We'll be here. If Hoss is not here, the Rock Professor and Andrew will be here. So, and obviously a lot of you guys. Warren, good to see you, brother. Brad's going to do a quick shout out to everybody. If he misses anybody, I'm sure he didn't do that intentionally. See you guys next week.
Yeah, so John Z351, thank you, brother. Keith Campbell, thank you for coming. Warren, like Andrew said, thank you so much. Good to see you here. Mark Tanner, always good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
We've got Teresa. We've got my mother, Ellen Voroshin. We've got Helena Hara. We've got Helene here. We've got, we've got a few people. We have Analog Kid. Thank you, Analog Kid. We've got Brad Cook's mum, which we think we know that's someone that's not Brad Cook's mum. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. We've got another rat bag in the chat called Simon Williams, and I'm glad we didn't get any timeouts today, which is good. There's a someone here, I can't pronounce your name, but it was at 7:21. Thank you for coming and giving the comments that I can't read. I don't understand. Can someone read that? I don't know what it says.
Giving Mark something to do.
Yep. So we've also got Texas Jackdaw. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, Tim.
We also have some rat bag called British Electric Blue Show, and he's all right. He gets by all right. So who else have we got?
I can do that too.
We also, guys, thank you so much for all your wonderful comments here. I'm just looking at it as I'm going back, so I've got a fair few comments to look back at here. It's always good to read them back. If I've missed you guys, I apologize, but I think I've got everyone now. And
is that what you're doing next week? Is that your birthday? You having a birthday celeb?
Yeah, I've got a celebration.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think I don't know what's happening, so I can't tell you exactly. But my wonderful lady's organising stuff, so I could probably make the Sunday show, but I didn't. Wasn't
don't do that.
Didn't know if I was going to be back in time or not. So I thought, isn't it better just to let the show go on and have Simon Hosford come in, and then it's not stuffing you guys around and everyone in the chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alan, because that was the last thing we were going to say. Happy birthday, brother, for next week. The show was taken up a level, brother, when you came on it. You know, the Rock Professor and I were hanging out, and we were being cool, and we loved what we were doing. You came on. Yeah, we were hanging on. But when you came in, and within, I think the first show, we gave you your job offer. And you accepted it. So, look, thank you very much.
Or handcuff you to the rails so you can leave.
I was going to correct you here. More leaning towards what Simon just said there. The Rock
I was just being diplomatic. You know? I'm not part of an international criminal underworld that's got contacts all over the place.
All I'll say is I had some heavies come up the front door. They knocked on the front door. The heavies came, and they told me I had no choice but to stay.
You'll be
Happy
staying,
birthday.
Mr. Cook.
No, thank you very much. It means a lot to me. Those words are wonderful. Thanks, Andrew and Simon. And I'm not. I'm just having a birthday celebration next week. It's got nothing to do with going to another channel or anything like that. So,
Stop the digging.
Andrew and the Rock Professor haven't groomed me for anywhere else. Like I said, I wouldn't be anywhere else. If I'm going to do a YouTube show, it's here or not at all. That's all I'll say.
Everybody's wishing you happy birthday, bro. We better get out of here before we get ourselves into trouble. Happy birthday, brother. We'll see you in a fortnight.
Thank you so much, guys. And
we'll see you next week.
Definitely
with more Simons than you could round up in a large field.
Well, maybe you should pick an album that's to do with Simon.
What? Simon and Simon. No, Simon and Garfunkel. Yes.
Thanks for all the wishes.
I'd rather us do a Duran Duran record because Simon Le Bon, if we're going to do that,
Oh, yeah.
We're out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone in the chat. Stay safe and well. And we'll see you next week. And have a lovely birthday, Brad.
Thank you.